Okay, people, I guess we're doing a double upload today because the Switch 2 leaks do not stop coming. Of course, this morning I posted my reaction to Xenoblade X, the new trailer for that, a little bit of a peek at the new content. But today we're talking about all of the back-end listings for the Switch 2 that are popping up on some pretty major retailers. GameStop happened last night, and then today a bunch of games are popping up on a French retailer, which is, it's got me wondering, like, man, when is this console getting announced? I mean, it's been the joke for a while now. It's like we know everything about the hardware. We've seen all these different accessories. The only thing left to really leak is the software. And while we don't have specifics for this software, these things are starting to pop up. We're seeing publisher names attached to them. So today we're going to be trying to speculate on what all of these games are, if they are actually real listings. Of course, take everything with a grain of salt. Sometimes stuff pops up that ends up not being real. I remember back in like 2019, I want to say, A Link to the Past popped up on Best Buy. So it could be fake, but currently I am leaning towards real. So let's get into this. Okay, so first up, and I would personally say this is less exciting because it's just more accessory talk. GameStop, for a brief period of time, if you search Switch 2 on their system in store, like on the employee computer, if you search Switch 2, a bunch of accessories were popping up, most notably micro SD Express cards. This has been long rumored for a while now. I believe like a year ago, Samsung said they were working with like a major partner to really push these new micro SD Express cards. Basically, faster load times, very exciting, seemingly having confirmation that the Switch 2 will support micro SD Express. You're going to be paying more for less storage, but the load times are going to be way faster, and that's something I could probably do a video comparing like the speeds to when this thing does release, because I'm sure I'll get whatever micro SD Express I can get. But it wasn't just the micro SD Express cards, because it was also some carrying cases, the deluxe gaming case, and you can also see the prices associated with them and the little SKU number there. There's a 1 terabyte micro SD Express. I'm not sure if that actually exists at this point in time, because this is a pretty new format. I think the biggest you can get is 512. So this is probably like something that would release in the future, but I would expect by the end of 2025 we have 1 terabyte cards for this. 150, that's probably about what that would cost. But yeah, this was really the start of it in terms of like Switch 2 having a meaningful footprint in the back end on some retailers, and of course GameStop is a pretty major one. And I was trying to look back to the Switch back in 2017, like when did accessories and that kind of stuff really start popping up on retailer systems back then? And I saw one post from Reddit, and it was posted on like January 3rd. And in that post, they were talking about how they pre-ordered Lego City Undercover for Switch, which at that point was not announced. Lego City Undercover, I believe, came out in April, but that was like, 10 days before the Switch presentation. So 10 days before the Switch presentation, there were retailers taking pre-orders for Switch games that technically were not even announced. We could be looking at a similar thing here where, we're about 10, maybe 14 days away from the reveal of this console, and that's why these things are starting to pop up on the back end. Now, what's interesting about the GameStop little listings here is that all of those listings, all of those SKUs have just been replaced to say dummy SKU. So seemingly, they weren't supposed to say Switch 2 micro SD Express and Switch 2 tempered glass screen protector. They have all been replaced to just say a dummy SKU. So they're still in the system, and they're not actually available for pre-order yet, but they're in the system ready to go for whenever this thing actually is announced. So that's pretty damn telling, especially because it is GameStop. Now, this next retailer we'll talk about is a French retailer that I'm frankly not that familiar with, but there's this French retailer called FNAC or FNAC. I'm not familiar with this store. Apparently, it's a pretty big deal over in France. But at first, it popped up that they had a listing for a Take-Two game on NSW2, but then it kind of spiraled from there, and we have tons of game listings from pretty major third-party publishers that are popping up. People are still digging around on the system over there and just kind of finding new games, and that's what I really wanted to talk about today, is these games, because it's so fun having it. It's almost like a game right now, because as you can see here, it says Bethesda Switch 12, Warner Brothers Switch 14, Bandai Namco Switch 12. Like, these are giving us an idea of what these games are. We have an idea of how many games each publisher might have ready for the Switch 2 launch or launch window, but it's not like it's necessarily spoiling them outright. That is with the exception of a few, because one Twitter user managed to line up the numbers, I guess, and like the product listings, and basically figured out that 3 of the games are as follows. Basically, Tekken 8 from Bandai Namco is one of them. FIFA from Electronic Arts, obviously FIFA's going to be there on day 1, and then Red Dead Redemption, either 1 or 2, likely 2, but this is our first, I would say, I'm not going to say it's concrete, but this is our first like potentially major software leak for Switch 2. Yes, these are old games, but it's still a nice look at what we can expect, or maybe should expect, from third parties on Switch 2. Tekken 8 I've been playing a lot of recently. I just picked it up over Christmas break, and man, Tekken 8 is awesome. I really, really have had a lot of fun playing Tekken 8. Would totally double dip on Switch. Give you some cross progression. I'm not sure if it's cross progression currently between like console and PC, but yeah, Tekken 8 is supposedly one. That makes sense. Tekken hasn't had the strongest history with Nintendo. Of course, Tag 2 was on Wii U and it had like the Mario and Luigi costumes in there, but then there was also Tekken 3D Prime, but we've never actually gotten like a mainline 3D, or a numbered Tekken game, I should say, on a Nintendo platform as far as I'm aware, so that would kind of be a first. FIFA, like I said, that's going to be there, and then Red Dead Redemption 2, that's the Take-Two game. That makes sense, you know? I am still shocked that GTA 5 never came to Switch. I was saying that would happen back in 2017. So, Red Dead Redemption 2, if they want to get it out there early, that would make sense. Red Dead Redemption 1, I imagine, did pretty dang good on the current Switch, so putting Red Dead 2 on Switch 2. I think there was actually like ratings for this a long time ago, now that I think about it. Weren't there ratings for Red Dead 2? Specifically, it was rated for just Nintendo Switch, I believe. This was like 6 months ago, but that's really not that surprising if they want to get Red Dead 2 in there. And then I'd imagine you still get GTA 5, and then, you know, if Red Dead 2 runs pretty well, maybe, first of all, maybe this will be our first console version of Red Dead 2 that runs at 60 FPS. That'd be very funny. But also, if it runs well enough, maybe that paves the way for GTA 6 to come later down the line. But I basically wanted to take a look at these and see if we can maybe figure out what all of these games are. I talk a lot on this channel about how, while the hardware leaks are interesting, I'm mostly here for the software. Even if it's old ports of third-party games, my mind immediately gets running of like, okay, what can we see ports of on the Switch 2? So taking a look here, this is like the core list of the placeholder listings on this retailer. And it looks like we have, what, 3 EA games are listed. Is that 3 Bandai Namco games, a couple of Warner Bros. Games, quite a few Square Enix games, and a couple of Bethesda games as well, and then, yeah, the 2 Take-Two games. So we'll just go in order, I guess, by publisher. We'll start with Electronic Arts. So if there's 3 EA games coming to Switch 2 within the launch period, well, first of all, FIFA. That's one we probably know based on the kind of cross-referencing there. So FIFA would be there, and then you'd probably also get Madden. I guess it's weird because would they bring the old FIFA to the Switch, like the current FIFA that's already on Switch 1? Would they bother porting that to Switch 2 and then do another version of FIFA a few months later? Or would this be the first FIFA and that launches in September like it normally does? Or I should say EA Sports FC. I'm not sure if they would bother. You know, would they bother doing the last year's Madden and then do Madden again? I'm not too sure. But you can imagine these are a couple of sports games. And then most notably, I've talked about this before, very excited for this game, Split Fiction from Hazelight, the next game from the developers of It Takes Two. It Takes Two, I'm sure, did very well on Switch. Obviously, that game is a massive success, sold over 20 million copies. Their next game is going to be a big hit. It's a co-op focused game, and you can bet that EA is going to want that game on a Nintendo platform where co-op play is usually pretty like kind of intrinsically tied, right? Especially passing the Joy-Con off, although I'm not sure if you'd be able to play a game as complex as Split Fiction with just the Joy-Con. But point is, Split Fiction I would imagine to be there as soon as possible on the Switch 2. Square Enix is another one that's really kind of hard to pin down, frankly. We have 4 Square Enix games listed here. It really depends on what's going on with Final Fantasy VII, I guess, because 2 of them could just be Final Fantasy VII versions. I'm not convinced that's going to happen very early on the Switch. I would love for that to happen, or on the Switch 2, I should say. One of these has to be Visions of Mana. Why did that game even release when it did? I feel like Visions of Mana is almost certainly going to come to Switch 2, but that's the thing with Square Enix, that it's so obvious that maybe it won't happen, you know, because Square Enix always defies all logic. So maybe Visions of Mana isn't one of them, but you could imagine Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. You could imagine Final Fantasy 16 even, and most notably, the one that we've been talking about for so long now is Final Fantasy IX Remake. Supposedly, Square Enix is kind of just waiting for Nintendo to make their move so they can do that. You could also maybe throw in whatever the Bravely team is working on. They've been teasing a lot of new news happening soon. It was supposed to happen in 2024, didn't happen, so maybe whatever they're cooking up is one of these games. Square Enix, I imagine, will have a pretty dominant showing in the Switch 2 reveal events with a couple of games announced, or maybe not even in the presentation itself, but like that day on Twitter, next day over, they're going to announce it and be like, hey, this is coming over. Even if it doesn't actually get that big spotlight in the Switch 2 Direct or reveal event, you're going to see a lot of Square Enix stuff coming over in the first couple months. Bandai Namco, they have 3 games here. So, well, one of them we likely know, it's probably Tekken 8. That makes a lot of sense. Tekken 8's going to have life for a long time. They're going to want to get that on Switch 2 and keep supporting it there. But then we have 2 more Bandai Namco slots. One of them is almost certainly Elden Ring, right? Is that copium? I'm not sure, but Elden Ring runs on PS4. So I just feel like you're going to want to get Elden Ring on the Switch too. And you can make the argument that that third Bandai Namco slot is Elden Ring Night Rain. Might be a little bit early for that to be popping up, but Bandai Namco, Tekken 8, Elden Ring, and maybe the third one, Sparking Zero. Sparking Zero, I feel like, has to come to Switch too. Usually, with a lot of these Dragon Ball games, anime games, Bandai Namco will release it on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and then like a year later, do it on Nintendo. So it wouldn't be that out of line to get a Sparking Zero, I don't know, GOTY edition in October of this year for Switch 2. So I think that's probably what we're looking at there. Take-Two, once again, we know one of those would likely be Red Dead Redemption 2. And then the other one, if I had to guess, I think WWE, there's a new WWE being announced soon, or like being properly revealed soon, 2K25. So it's probably that. Switch did get 2K17, I think. But it hasn't been getting the recent WWE games, so it'd probably be one of those. I think I saw someone say that's getting announced on January 25th. So, hey, maybe Switch 2 is announced before January 25th. They can show the Switch 2 version at their little reveal event for that game. Bethesda's an interesting one. So we have, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 Bethesda's listings here. There's a heavily rumored remake of Oblivion right now by Virtuos, supposedly being remade in Unreal Engine 5. Could we see Oblivion remake for Switch 2? Yes. The rumor is that it's releasing this year, and Skyrim did really well on Switch. They're going to keep supporting it, Bethesda and Xbox. So I think you probably see that Oblivion remake. Doom: The Dark Ages is my most anticipated game of 2025. Do we see Doom on Switch 2? Well, I mean, the Switch 1 has Doom 2016 and Eternal. So Bethesda, even beyond all the Xbox stuff, Bethesda seems pretty willing to support Nintendo. So I think, yes, we probably end up getting Doom: The Dark Age. It's not going to be on day and date. I'm not even sure. Honestly, I mean, we'll see at the Xbox Direct that's happening in like 2 weeks. I feel like Doom might come out before the Switch 2, depending on how that lines up. But Doom: The Dark Ages would be one. And then finally, I mean, a lot of these Xbox exclusives are coming over. Could we see something like Starfield? I mean, honestly, it hasn't come to PlayStation yet. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe they're waiting to do a day-and-date release of Starfield on PS5 and Switch 2. Or maybe it's Indiana Jones as well. That's also a Bethesda game. Right now, Indy is announced for, I think, just spring on PS5. Maybe they haven't announced a date because they're waiting for Switch 2 to come out or be announced with a date so that they know, like, okay, well, we're just going to put Indiana Jones out on Switch 2 and PS5 same day. And let's say, I don't know, like April or May. Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good bet. So Doom, Indy, and Oblivion remake. I think that, based on all the rumors going around right now, I think that's a pretty solid list right there. And then finally, for Warner Bros., we have, two Warner Bros. Listings. There was actually a rumor like a week ago, or not even a week ago, like a couple days ago. I'm losing track of all these rumors because there's so many happening. But there was a rumor that they're bringing Gotham Knights to Switch too. That's hilarious because Gotham Knights, to be fair, Gotham Knights supposedly sold pretty well. It was one of the best-selling games in the US the year it released. I think that was, 2022. Obviously, it wasn't like critically received very well, though. People don't like that game, but it did sell pretty well just based on the Batman IP alone, I suppose. So Gotham Knights maybe is one of those. And then I could imagine Warner Bros. Just doing a port of Hogwarts Legacy for Switch 2, considering how well Hogwarts Legacy sells. In fact, wasn't there... I want to say there's rumors about like a Hogwarts Legacy director's cut with more content. So considering how big that game is, I would not be shocked to see a Switch 2 version pretty early on in the life cycle. There was also this huge shout out to Necrolipe over on Twitter from Universo Nintendo on the listing for the unknown Take-Two game. Basically, they had the box dimensions for Switch 2 games. A lot of people are arguing, well, it's just going to be a placeholder because it actually lines up perfectly with the box art or the box size of a PS5 game. I think this is likely a placeholder. I find it hard to understand why Nintendo would increase the size of Switch 2 physical cases. Maybe they want more retail physical presence, but just here, I have two games, two completely polar opposite games. to compare sizes to if you have not held a physical game in a while. Switch cases are quite a bit smaller, a lot thinner. They're the same height, but quite a bit thinner than a PS5 game. Here's my copy of The Blob and Death Stranding. So if we're looking at Switch 2 cases being the size of a PS5 game, I mean, that'd be interesting. Somehow Nintendo managed to avoid like the Blu-ray sized case that PlayStation and Xbox have had for a long time now. Maybe we get a little bit of a wider case. Maybe that notch on the Switch 2 cartridge is just so big that they need that extra space. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I feel like this is a placeholder because it is the exact dimensions of a PlayStation case. That, to me, tells me it's like, oh, well, they just copied it from another listing or whatever, because I just don't know why Nintendo would waste more plastic. I don't think they'll make them smaller because they want to have that retail space, although I don't know about you guys, but where I live, like Target, you go into a Target, it's just like pieces of paper in a glass case saying like, oh yeah, we have Splatoon 2, and the printer paper is like really low quality and it's super sun faded. Most stores near me don't actually have the games out anymore to even look at. They're all locked up. Or like if I go in Walmart, like their entire game section is like just empty. So I mean, retail space, I'm not even sure how much that really matters anymore, but I don't think they'll go smaller. I don't think they'll go 3DS size, but I don't think they'll necessarily size up to the PlayStation side of things either. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of all these potentially leaked games? That is a lot of third-party stuff, and it's what we've been saying for the past couple days, man. If Nintendo does not announce this thing soon, we're going to start seeing significant leaks. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. Maybe I'll do a video on it tomorrow. There was another picture of the Switch 2 that apparently leaked of someone running, of a dev kit specifically running. You can like see some of the dev UI on the screen. So the leaks are not slowing down, and I wonder... Like, I don't think Nintendo's going to move up the reveal, but considering how much we're getting, it has to be soon, man. I mean, this month, certainly, but is it next week? Is it the week after? We will have to wait and see. But, I mean, we're having pre-orders pop up, or I should say, like, back-end listings pop up on retailers. We're getting dev kit leaks. It's crazy time. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of all these potentially leaked third-party games? What do you think of the new size for Switch 2 box arts, if that ends up being the case? And what other games from those publishers would you like to see on the Switch 2 that maybe I forgot to mention? I would like to get a conversation going down there. Of course, check out my Xenoblade Chronicles X video from this morning. Double posting. I got to do it. There's just too much to talk about right now. And follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Until next time, folks. Peace.